Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the AAOL Season 4 Grand Finals. We will be doing the Division 6 Grand Finals tonight between Raza and the lads, and Shiki's Harem. I'm Pyronius, and I'm joined here tonight by Racket.
Hey, g'day lads. Welcome to the stream. I'm really pumped to get into this one, of course, and I haven't casted for quite a while actually, so it's good to get back into things.
It's great to have you back. And so for those of you out there wondering, this being the finals, these two teams have met before during the group stage. The last time they met was right at the very start of the group stage that both of these have come through from the division, and that one did go to Raza and the lads, but it was a 2-1 victory, which means it should be reasonably close, and it'll be down to how well these teams have developed and grown between their last meeting and now.
And that's the exciting part of it, right? Since their last meeting was a bit far back in the group stage, now that both teams have had their time in the sun to refine and adjust what they need to do. And I mean, recently, I guess in this tournament, we've had a bunch of goats. So I guess that's a trend to look out for as well. And see which team could press Q better, perhaps, or maybe try a different strategy to try and counter it.
Absolutely. And so in terms of tracking progress through the group stage from these teams, Raza and the lads have managed to go through their group stage undefeated. So they are definitely coming into this one the favourite between winning that last game and, of course, making their way through the group stage without a defeat. However, Shiki's Harem also have obviously put in a good showing to make it here to the finals. So it's really going to come down to which team wants it more, and there's definitely room for this one to go either way.
Yeah, certainly, and I think we'll be starting. We'll be starting on King of the Hill. Is that how the?
Yes, we'll be going into Lijiang Tower as our first map. So definitely a chance for both of these teams to show just how well they are at executing as a team in the more brawly playstyle.
And that's probably one of the more exciting maps to start off on as well, considering you're most likely going to be seeing more tanky compositions, but of course you do have gardens as well to sort of put the
Absolutely
works there, which is a completely different playstyle. Most teams tend to favor the sort of dive-centric compositions on that, and of course for the other two, a lot of teams are just sort of using their goats composition as a safeguard.
Absolutely. So it's going to be interesting to see how these teams go and how they've developed throughout the season. Both of these teams have actually been free agent teams that have been put together specifically to compete in this tournament. So both of them not pre-made teams prior to this tournament, and beating out the rest of the pre-made teams in their division means they have gelled really well, and by now definitely teams in on their own right.
Just for reference as well, of course, there are a bunch of different games going on at the same time. I believe on the other stream, we have, let me just check, Wollongong Typhoon versus MG Sharks too. So if this match doesn't tickle your fancy, or if you know anyone on the opposing teams on the other stream, you can go check them out as well. I believe that will be on the secondary AAOL stream, if you want to check that out too. So there's a ton of action coming up tonight, so
yeah,
keep everyone happy.
Absolutely. Definitely plenty of excitement to go around. So we're just waiting for the players to finalize the last few things, and we will be heading into the map now. So we will be going into Lijiang Tower in just a moment as the map loads. And it looks like we will be starting with gardens. So talk us through what we can expect to see here, Racket.
Well, as I said previously, it probably would be leaning towards the more dive-centric compositions, of course, because it just leans itself to that sort of playstyle with the open ground that you have. If Reinhardt compositions, it can be run on this map, but you're going to be pigeonholed to the point majority of the time. So if you are playing dive, you have more options and variables when coming into these fights, and see how that reaction does come out, because it looks like a dive versus goats matchup right now. And once goats does achieve its sort of win condition on getting onto the point, that's when they're going to be strongest.
Absolutely. There's going to be a lot of pressure on this first fight, especially on Raza and the lads disrupting this one and making sure that Shiki's Harem are not able to get that established presence, get the early kills, and snowball control of the point.
See if that does end up working out in their favor as well. Of course, this is going to be a sort of chess match, and having the early harass coming out from the far is going to be one of the key elements in trying to dismantle this goats composition.
That said, we do have Shiki's Harem moving in through cover of the white room, meaning that Colonel Long Sparrow not able to get a great angle on there, and they are getting set up on the point here as the fight breaks out. So far, we do have the commitment going in, and the early kill onto Raza by Education there is going to set them up to get control of this point. With the main tank down, it's going to be quite difficult, and with Elsie going down, the mercy for Shiki's Harem, this one is looking very much in favour of Raza and the lads as they take control here. Sorry, no.
Already. Oh, that's, yeah, sure.
So Shiki's Harem taking control here. My apologies. Already getting them mixed up.
Yeah, going through white room is always going to be the winning condition there for them, and they didn't get as much fire damage as they wanted to initially. They've already decided to swap to the brigade there, so Raza and the lads making a small little adaptation. They want to try and maybe make the tanks a little bit more difficult going through to this bridge side. Brig can be quite powerful there, and as you can see, the dive...
Do have the dive absolutely coming in there. Raza trying to get the kills down, but the damage is not quite being focused enough. No early kills coming through, and already it's looking like they may need to back off. Palm Tree going down early in this fight, and Elsie going down as well means the supports are down for Raza and the lads. That is going to be a reset.
That's another successful fight into the bag of Shiki's Harem. And once they get that ultimate economy cycling with the tank ultimates, that's when Goat starts to become a lot more powerful. You have very high value cooldowns waiting to be cycled. You have both the Graviton Search and the Earth Shadow available online in this next fight. Let's see how I can utilize that.
And there's it gets eaten. Half a men eating the Graviton out of Taitoku. That's going to give them an absolute advantage there. That said, Raza getting knocked off the edge here by Education means they are going to be struggling, and the kills are still coming through in favor of Shiki's Harem there. Colonel Wong committing the barrage and Heifermen committing the self-destruct, but they haven't done enough damage to this brawly, tanky Goats composition to really get the fight going in their favour. And the kills are still coming through in favour of Shiki's Harem there. We do have finally a kill onto Education, who's been doing so much work here on the Brigida, but it's just too little too late. And I don't think Colonel Wong harassing in the skies is going to be able to flip this one.
Yeah, props to Bacon there, because Bacon has really been a fantastic guard in making sure that the Farah isn't getting as much value. That defense matrix just ate all the rocket barrage coming up, and as you can see, Colonel Wong onto the point. This is the last stand.
Absolutely, and sound barrier being committed there by Jiffy is going to make it very difficult, and Colonel Wong is caught in a Graviton there, quickly taken out. Elsie has dropped down as well, and it really is going all in favour of Shiki's Harem here. Raza and Palm Tree down as well. It's just the last couple of members, and there's still ultimates being committed just to win this fight over as the overtime bar quickly burns down, and that will be a 100-0 cap in favour of Shiki's Harem there.
That's about as good as you can get there from Shiki's Harem. They completely executed what they wanted to do. They went through White Room at the start. I think maybe there was a little bit of hesitation there from Raza and the lads because they were going sort of more right side and gave Shiki a little bit too much space coming into the point, which you do not want to do that up against the Goats composition, because once they do have their position, once they're set and anchored onto the point, it's going to be a lot more difficult to contest them. So that initial fight, that first round sort of clash is the most important one, and unfortunately they just didn't get through. But as you can see right now, the team comp adaptions a lot more tankier this time.
Yeah, you do have to be a little worried coming into this one, I think, as Raza and the lads, because you know that they're going to be playing Goats here, and they've just beaten you with Goats, but let's see if these adaptations are enough to swing the balance. As the fight gets underway, we do have the early exchange of stuns. So far, it looks like maybe this one is going a bit better for Raza and the lads. That said, they are split out all over this right now. Early kill onto Raza is going to swing things very much in favour of Shiki's Harem. That said, it looks like, are they going to do the full reset? They've backed off, but they don't seem like they're committing. No, they are committing to this fight, and a huge anti-nade coming through there, but it's not enough commitment to stop the point from being captured.
And Raza, unfortunately, getting picked out there, but looks like they're already ready to get back into the fight again. And look at the brig. Education is laying down the law. Return of that Mace as a ruler, because she is absolutely giving the class a lesson.
Yeah, and it was a very quick fight as Raza came in early, but they just immediately lost people as Taitoku getting the Zarya damage through, and now absolutely Shiki's Harem is set up here in this front room. They've got their Earth Shatter online. It's going to be a nightmare to get through this door.
Yeah, this is where you exactly want to be if you're Shiki's Harem right now, getting total dominance on the ground, playing aggressively. Looks like the DJ is going a little bit back there, but Raza's trying to contest. Oh,
this counter shatter comes through. Really nice play there by Raza. The sound barrier keeps it from doing too much damage, but a big tire from Colonel Wong and their own sound barrier to cancel out the ultimate from Taitoku means that this should be an easy point cap. They just need to wrap up the last couple of members here. Jiffy going down there. It's just Bacon alone against the world to buy as much percentage as he can, but slept and knocked off the point. That won't be much longer. Education coming back in. They will have reinforcements, but this is not a fight they can win, and Rufio realizes that and is backing off in a hurry.
Junkrat really getting the value off there. Riptide, one of the highest percentage ultimates in terms of getting a win off the back of it, so I think a nice Riptide there certainly gave them a good opportunity to charge in there, but look, already
taking out Lions is definitely going to start off, and that looks like a big Earth Shatter. Placement is good, and Raza doesn't have the shield to put up. A couple of kills from Colonel Wong may mean that it's not enough to get through, but this is anyone's fight at this stage. Education on the Farah now and raining death down from above. Elsie finally picked off by the Farah rockets, but there are still a lot of people alive. Colonel Wong actually gets hype beast with a well-placed trap, but Education is just unmolested in these skies at the moment. The Farah absolutely has no answers from this ground-based Goats comp, and it looks like the point is eventually going to go through to Shiki's Harem. But another late tie from Colonel Wong picks up 3. The point is flipped, but for how long? It's just an out-of-mech diva alone on the point, and here come the reinforcements now.
What an explosive return there from Colonel Wong once again. Jeffy is doing some nice dancing on the point, but the burst from Junkrat up against this very tanky composition. Education's answering a lot of the time, but both of these explosive characters getting so much value.
That said, they have managed to keep the point under their control despite the lack of numbers there. Shiki's Harem are still getting percentage points, and if it does flip, which it looks like it will eventually, and there's an Earth Shatter being committed there by Raza, should mean that that goes through, and Lions picking up the Nano Boost as well. But at this point, it's at 99%. They have managed to, from a fight they had lost, get it all the way to 99%, and now they back off and regroup.
That is an absolutely monstrous achievement there, getting all that percentage there from that store. I think Jiffy was dancing on the point for quite a while as well, was completely above it, it just jumped down constantly, so good job there from Jiffy. But now the recontest is out. Let's see if they can get back onto the point. Colonel Wong's very close to the Riptide though.
Yeah, it's going to come down to how clean they can do this. They do have the Shatter online from Rufio, so that could be the means. And an early kill onto Elsie there gives them everything they need. Sound Barrier being committed, and Rufio's going deep with a charge. He's still got the Shatter in his pocket. Briggs used the stun. It should be safe. He just needs to commit it. But they're backing off. There's a Shatter out from Raza, big Shatter. Rufio comes around on the flank, does a counter Shatter, picks up Palm Tree and Colonel Wong in the background. They may have the tools here, and yes, even with Education going down really quickly into that barrage, the Graviton is still enough, pinning the remaining members. They flip the point. It's 96%, but can any members of Raza and the lads get onto this point? No, they can't.
Well, that was a lot closer than last round at Shiki's Rum. They get through in the end there, but Goats versus Goats, that was reasonably close. I think when you do execute the dives wrong up against Goats, you just get punished just because of the amount of power that Goats composition has of their ultimates, but this was a lot closer. Colonel Wong did a fantastic job. I think a couple of times with that Riptide just gave access to the point back, so...
Absolutely. I mean, two huge ties throughout that. The last one leading into that incredible stall from Shiki's Harem there to buy all their time. But nonetheless, it did turn a lost fight into that strange stall fight that we had. That said, after that one, we will be going over to Eichenwald next, which means very different map, very different playstyle, and a lot more open space than certainly what we've seen in Control Center at least. Perhaps a bit closer to what we saw on Gardens, but again, very different game mode.
Yeah, I mean, I think Eichenwald is pretty cool design map actually, because I think there are options, and I think sure it is a lot more open, but you also have a lot of teams having set comps to change on set points, for example. So I'm interested to see how the adaptation comes through, because I think like one of the classical ones is if you're running dive like on first point attack, a lot of the teams like to swap off a Tracer to a Genji or something to contest the castle high ground, those type of adaptations.
Absolutely,
small little tinkerings to optimize the small things in Overwatch, which can matter quite a lot when coming into these fights.
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of those maps where you can run three completely different comps over all three stages. But it sounds like we may be having a bit of a 5-minute pause or so before we head into this one. Just one of the players wanting to just iron out some wrinkles they're having with their system before we head into that. So we may yet have a 5-minute break before we head here into Eichenwald. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the AAOL Season 4 Grand Final from Division 7, Raza and the lads versus Shiki's Harem. We are back and ready to go with Eichenwald, and we'll be heading in just a moment for the second match of this. For those who've just joining us, the score is currently, we are 1-0 in favour of Shiki's Harem. And it's definitely shaping up to be a great match so far. Those of you who've been following these teams, Raza and the lads was perhaps considered the favourite coming into this one, but so far Shiki's Harem have definitely been showing us that they are something to be feared when they're able to run those goat space compositions.
Yeah, they certainly look quite warmed up considering the score that we had on Lijiang. It was more closer towards the second map there on Control Center. Gardens was quite dominant there, but of course, this is the beauty of Overwatch. There are several game types. Of course, we're going to be heading into Eichenwald, completely different. Once you go to that first point, you capture it, get the payload out. It's completely different to King of the Hill, and that's why I like starting with Koth. You always get the warm up fingers. They're right over the campfire, and everyone's ready to frag now. Hopefully,
absolutely, and we'll be heading in here shortly. It looks like we will be having. Oh, I always forget this one. Which team gets defense first? I always forget which color it is. Is it blue defense, red attack? Oh, sorry, Racket. I have completely blanked on this one.
Look, what you do is you wait 20 seconds.
You wait 20 seconds and then... oh, yeah, that is definitely the easy way to do it.
I'm pretty sure red is attack from memory.
Yeah, it's been too long since I've needed to know that one, unfortunately. If so, we will have Shiki's Harem on attack first.
Yes, that is correct.
Yes, absolutely. There we are. So we will have Raza and the lads defending first, which is their prerogative, having lost the previous map, and generally what teams go for on especially these types of map modes, unless they have something especially in mind to catch their opponent off guard, most people do favour that early defense.
Yeah, certainly do. And looking at the team compositions as well, we're seeing sort of something different, but with a little bit of flavour on it, of course. We have the explosive asterisks there with both the Farah and the Junkrat being run in this. Of course, Eichenwald, that pinnacle tower right in the middle of the first point, is going to be a fantastic location that you'll see both Farahs duking it out there. So Colonel Wong had a very good performance on the Junkrat earlier, so let's see if he can carry that on to the Farah. Education, of course, had a pretty solid performance on that Farah as well on the Control Center.
And we will have some early rockets thrown in here as Shiki's Harem begin to make their way forwards. It's going to be interesting if they can take advantage of Palm Tree being on that Ana, often a vulnerable pick there. We do have an early fight going down. Raza getting an early kill onto Jiffy is going to mean that this one is going to be very hard to get going for Shiki's Harem. They do manage to get Palm Tree back though, so that might be a go button nonetheless. And Raza going down as well from Education's rockets there. Farah really putting in work, and DJ Rufio has made it into the fight again. They are going to be going in hard and deep on this one, trying to push their advantage. Colonel Wong going down to a rocket, or rather Colonel Wong taking down Education from a rocket, but it doesn't matter as Hype Beast is there to get the res through, and the point is being picked up in control. That said, Raza does take down DJ Rufio, but Elsie going down from Education's rockets. It's definitely looking in favour of Shiki's Harem here, but perhaps not. I mean, this fight is definitely anyone's go as long as that Farah is just uncontested in the sky. Actually, the Farah has just died. Apologies. And this one is eventually going to go over in favour of the attackers just by virtue of the respawns. Lions coming back on the Widow is probably not going to be able to get the angles they need at the moment with how Rufio set up on the point to get the key kills there. And Education just puts a shot down on top. Colonel Wong comes in with a big barrage over the top, and there's the Graviton Surge as they look to clean up this point. Education unleashing their own barrage, and even though they trade for it, the point is eventually capped over by Shiki's Harem.
Certainly a long fight there. Leanne's had quite a lot of confidence going on the Widowmaker there. Ended up getting a quite decent amount of ultimate percentage, but at the end of the day, you're not going to have the best amount of space on the recontest there. And despite causing quite a bit of pressure on Education, they just couldn't get the initial snowball to fend off the defending wave of what Shiki's Harem was.
That said, I think the Widowmaker is potentially going to pay dividends here now on this second point defense, and having those sights up early on, absolutely huge. And that early kill into Education and then Taitoku means that is basically a one fight there, and Raza is going in aggressive to take advantage of it. Hypebeast does get the res back onto their Widowmaker, but the Pharah's not coming back, and DJ Rufio gets his Shatter knocked out by a charge, and a quick heads-up play by Haircare for Men there, just capturing the rest of them in the Graviton Surge, means that this is a one fight, and doing so quite cheaply considering DJ Rufio committed a Shatter into that as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. And see, if Raza can make another play like that as well, that charge was just absolutely wonderful. Instant the Earth Shatter animation was casted. It was just beautiful timing there, connecting with that ability. And of course, the Earth Shatter is available for Raza as well. So if he can work his magic for a second time, that could be absolutely wonderful. But the space is given to the attacking team in Shiki's Harem now. And as you can see, Jiffy trying to scout it out. But the Farah Rockets, or the Widowmaker adaptation here as well, for both teams could spice it up.
Absolutely, and now we do have the dive tanks coming out as well, and it's paying dividends already with both Education taking out the Palm Tree, the Ana, and Taitoku winning the Widow duel, and then the kill onto Elsie as well means that those kills are not coming back. This one is going to be a very solid push here now from Shiki's Harem, and Raza going down as he backs off there. Will they get a recontest here? I think they may be able to get someone out there, but I don't think they're going to have a proper team fight here as the point gets very close to second if they go for it, and they may not by the looks of it.
Looks like they're going for the retreat here, and of course, second point does lend itself to the more mobile compositions. The instant that we saw dive, it just gave around the space that they needed to work around. But now you're in the third point, which then again, you know, the Reinhardt compositions start to come into their own. Then you have the Widowmaker in the backline right now. Lians is doing a good job at establishing a position. Wars does come out there for Tieku.
Yeah, a lot of early dueling from these Widows, but the card is still making its way forward. They are just backing off and giving up ground here, which means they're only really going to have one defensive fight here, unless they can win it, of course. And now we do have Raza going in, aggressing on those dive tanks, does miss his charge, and there's Colonel Wong committing the barrage there, quickly taken out by Taitoku, but not so quickly that Rufio isn't down. But Raza going down off the back of that does mean there is an advantage here, and Lions taking down Taitoku, probably not enough to equalize it at this stage. The cart's still moving forwards at a gradual but steady pace, and the kills are still coming through in favor of Shiki's Harem. Raza and the lads need to get out there and they need to start getting some kills, and it looks like with these reinforcements coming through, maybe an opportunity to stabilize, but they're all very spread out. The huge bomb from Jiffy takes down two. Raza and the lads really on the back foot here. Graviton being committed, but there's no follow-up on it. Bears the Shatter coming out, but even though he slams down Education and Hypebeast, gets taken out the moment after, and it's a last-minute desperate stall coming out here. As Shiki's Harem continue to roll over this point, Raza and the lads in a lot of trouble. They need to get some kills if they want to stabilize. They pulled out an emergency wrecking ball just to get out, but it looks like maybe it is creating the space they need. Shiki's Harem having to back off. They're slowly pushing back. They're not willing to commit here, and it may give Shiki's Harem, rather it may give Raza and the lads a chance to stabilize. Jiffy getting demeched. This should be the reset here. They need to back off.
Looks like the reset is being engaged here, but Riptide could put a spanner in the works, see if they can get any picks off it. Personal barrier used, and it forces Palm Tree out of the fight. Palm Tree has been so vital to these team fights, and with him down, this could be a key.
And the kills are still very much coming through in favor of Shiki's Harem as they pick up several off the back of that. It's just the tanks stalling on the point as long as they can. A huge Dragon Strike through the middle creates a lot of space, makes a lot of people back off. Colonel Wong does manage to take down Bacon, but again, trades for Education, or trades himself rather, as Education cleans it up. DJ Rufio taking down Palm Tree yet again, and this fight is still not safe for the defenders, but their respawn advantage is huge. And there's just not quite enough pressure being applied from Shiki's Harem. They're not cleaning up this fight quick enough to get the card across the line. They need to commit more if they want to stop those respawns.
Yeah, exactly. They've been getting kills, but they've been getting staggered kills. So by the time that they end up trying to regroup onto the point, they have a member coming back because of the spawn being so short. So Palm Tree has been absolutely fantastic in these fights. You, of course, have the Moira to help with the sustain as well. When you have so many tanky bodies in conjunction with the shields on point, you have to get an instant wipe.
And thus, despite the fact that they've had such a clean push through, it's down to just 1 minute remaining. There's a big defensive grab coming out there. Trance being committed will stop any kills coming through. Jiffy gets charged into the backline, but now Raza is just out of position. Gets taken down there as gets frozen by Education's May as they have pulled that one out to help them get this across the line. Heke for Men now in a lot of trouble as he gets focused down by 2 members there, and the kills are starting to come through. Colonel Wong does pick up Bacon in the back and gets Hypebeast as Hypebeast goes for the res. So the defenders are still picking up the kills they need, and with no sustain left, it's really only a matter of time. And I think Shiki's Harem probably needs to go for a quick regroup here, but they're committing to this one, and now they're in a position where I think they're trying to win a fight that they cannot win, and they just don't have time to go for another one.
Very awkward composition that they're running with right now. 5 seconds left to contest the point. Zenyatta will be the one in the front, but I don't think they're going to make it.
Hypebeast goes to fly through, but cannot get there in time, and so that is going to be a successful hold right on the finish line by Raza and the lads.
Yeah, it was a pretty decent push for those first 2 points. The first point, you had a very long and exaggerated fight, but the footing was found towards the end of it. And second point was a huge snowball. The dive composition worked out incredibly, but onto the third, the Brigitte just really worked wonders. I mean, the amount of value that they were getting off that onto the point, and I think it's just really difficult to get through if you can't really get like an AoE ultimate or like a Riptide that gets a bunch of value.
Yeah, I think they were also very hesitant to go anywhere near that Brigade in the fights. So when they did have the numbers advantage, they weren't pressing it as hard as they could have been because they were worried about the remaining members. And so it gave the defenders time to respawn as a result.
And that's purely it, right? Hesitation can be such an awful thing in Overwatch, especially when you're introduced a 2 CP on like a second point on the store, or when you're pressed in that position back against the wall on the last point of a map where the spawn's quite close. Hesitation can be the literal reason why you lose, right? So especially up against a composition that doesn't really hold bar, you need to decisively say, right, we need to target this person, we need to use this ultimate to wipe. Otherwise, you're going to have a situation where there's going to be a bunch of staggers, but you won't get the clean wipe. You won't be able to capture the point.
Absolutely, and it looks like we're going to be seeing something a bit different yet again out of Shiki's Harem. It looks like Taitoku will be actually running the McCree here. So Education will be on the Junkrat. No Pharah from the defenders as of yet, but it looks like we will be seeing it from the attackers here.
See how that does work out. Both teams really liking to pick the Pharah, actually. Of course, Eichenwald, it is a map that is good for the hero. Colonel Wong will be in charge of trying to harass everyone down, trying to force those tank cooldowns coming out early. But the McCree, of course, a slight adaptation to try and make sure that it's more difficult for that to happen.
It does look like the tank line there taking a lot of damage, and Taitoku going down early should give a lot of free reign to the skies now in Colonel Wong, as the rockets continue to rain down, taking a very good position to get behind the tank line and just rain those rockets uncontested. That said, Shiki's Harem have really withdrawn from this quite well. Late kill onto Hypebeast there, but they've managed to get out in good order despite the position advantage coming through. Education does pick up Haircare for Men and picks up Raza as well. That's the go button to come back in. Haircare for Men does get the res, but Lions has gone down to Taitoku in the meantime. So at this point, it looks like Raza and the lads may need to back off here, despite incredible work from Colonel Wong coming out, and he does have that rocket barrage up, but time off the clock as we are under 3 minutes now.
And that's unfortunate as well, because they did have to pop the Valkyrie. They do get the disengage off it, though, and they do have the sound barrier and the speed boost to re-engage onto this point. DJ gets a pick at the start, though! Whoa!
Huge kill onto Palm Tree. Raza commits his own Earth Shatter there, trying to even things up, but doesn't get a lot done from it. Raza then going down, but here comes Colonel Wong. Big barrage, taking down Taitoku a moment before then. Does get punished by Bacon, but it may be too little too late, and the res comes through onto Colonel Wong in the meantime. It's just DJ Rufio and Education left now. This should be a cleanup. It's just a matter of how long it takes. And Colonel Wong still raining these rockets down from above. DJ Rufio finally going down. Sound barrier is being committed by Hypebeast, who's made his way back in. but it's still all of the members here from Raza and the Lags set up here on this point. Lions going down, as I say that, to Education's martyrdom, but the kills are actually starting to come back through by Raza and the Lads, actually. They're the ones in control of this fight. What am I saying? And it's just a matter of time until this Tracer, DJ Rufio, comes back in with the barrage. So they are really buying a lot of time with these stalls. Rufio gets a big shatter onto Raza, maybe not as big as I originally thought, does eventually go down. Education's tire picks up both the supports, but it's probably too little too late here. But I've said that 3 times already this fight. And it's still, the kills are coming through, but finally I think Raza and the Lads are going to get this one captured and get it going, and even as I say that, yet more members making their way back onto the point. The stagger is real in this. Jiffy coming back in, DJ Rufio now back on the point. This is bleeding so much time off the clock, and they know they're not going to win this fight. It's far too far gone, but they are bleeding so much time off the clock that it doesn't matter, they're not going to win this fight. They're not worried about winning the fight. And finally that one is going to cap over, but with so much time bled off, just an incredible stall coming out of Shiki's Harem there.
That was certainly a valiant attempt there. The amount of stalls that repeatedly came out, I felt like there was a sort of hourglass in the center of the point, and time just proceedingly just decided to stop.
They were just trickling in this really controlled one-by-one manner that just... And they just, because the fight was so scrappy that they weren't able to get punished by it, and now we are perhaps going to be seeing an early defense. We do have the dive in by Raza, does take out Taitoku. That may be an opening as Hair Care for Men coming through to follow up. They are going after Education. Lions accidentally takes themselves out with their own pulse bomb, I believe. But even so, it looks like DJ Rufio is looking to bring the team forwards. They are going to aggress onto this cart. They sense they may have an advantage. There is the Graviton thrown into the wall, pinning people in place. Colonel Wong getting taken down, but not enough as Elsie brings them straight back up. This is still a weird fight going on here, and it does look like the initiative has been seized by Raza and the Lads. They get the DMEC onto Hair Care. They get Palm Tree down. Raza has taken down Jiffy in the fight. And Taitoku actually going huge here, picking up 2 kills as well. I mean, that this has turned into another of these really weird, scrappy fights, and it looks like neither team really willing to commit here. DJ Rufio moving forwards, just wants to stall this payload and force himself to be evicted from it. Big shatter, actually, potentially a big shatter coming through, but it looks like it got blocked out by the barrier. But Mana Boost being committed onto him means that he's just going to take control of this cart, and the more mobility-based tanks of Raza and the Lads need to back off and disengage. Now they need to pick this fight, but again, more time being bled off the clock here by the defenders.
Yeah, certainly. This certainly been quite good for the defenders here. The amount of time that has been just scratched off the clock, Shiki's Ram should certainly be very proud of it. And it's now up to Raza and the Lads to try and dissect this dive. They need to get a pick at the start. There we go. That's 1. So let's see if they can try to find a singular target, maybe perhaps go for a support. You can see in the backline you have the Hanzo there. There we go. Raza's going for the dive.
Yeah, going for the dive. They're committing in on that Anna. She's in a lot of trouble, but Hypebeast going down as well means, huge dragons from Taitoku thrown into that room. The Anna almost acting as bait there, and they have lost their support line, but they have killed so much with it that Raza and the Lads seem, again, a little hesitant to follow through. They've gone back to the cart to get it moving, but now they're just getting slammed against a wall by DJ Rufio, and they're just leaving this Reinhardt alone here. He's not getting punished, and Education has made it back and got in to take out the Widow. Palm Tree finally sends DJ Rufio off the map, and here comes Colonel Wong with the blade, trying to get something done. He may be a little far, and Tracer just jukes away. He's not going to get much with that blade. But again, they're not managing to deal in a quick manner with Shiki's Harem now. It looks like both teams struggling to press the advantage on these defenders, and this is getting into last fight territory.
Yeah, certainly. I think Harem has done a fantastic job at giving them the opportunities into this fight, but with him down, the amount of Bips has gotten off the map has been fantastic.
Absolutely, and here comes Rufio, gets a shatter onto Raza, charges him into the wall as well. It's just Hair Care for Men alone on the payload. Hypebeast committing the sound barrier to keep it going. Raza does make it back with the Primal Rage, but they're all within swing range with this giant hammer. Education helping clean up the kills, And it looks like this will be ending here. Taitoku is back on the wrecking ball just to get in quickly, and Lion's taking a nap off the payload as the wick burns down on this overtime.
And they managed to do it. Shiki's Harem. What a fantastic job there. I mean,
absolutely, just the sheer amount of stalling going on is just incredible.
Once again, though, we did see a little bit of hesitation there from Raza, and that the targets weren't exactly getting killed as quickly as you want, even though they would often get a pick at the start of the fight. They just couldn't snowball it correctly, and that Hanzo ultimate actually on the incoming dive, and Raza decided to go for the Ana, I believe. That Hanzo ultimate was so good, getting 2 people, so props there. That was a wonderful counter engagement. They just kited back afterwards.
Absolutely. I mean, the dive was going to be so devastating without that answer, as it actually not only got the Ana, but the Lucio caught in that room and killed. But the dragons coming through there doing so much damage that it turned immediately from a lost fight into this sort of scrappy brawl that they've been doing so well in. And so, once again, we do have Shiki's Harem winning a match, bringing them up 2-0 and bringing it to match point against Raza and the lads as we get ready to head into Hanamura.
And Raza and the lads, of course, favoured to win. Well, I guess the favourites coming into this matchup, though. So, they still certainly do have gas left in the tank. Well, I guess we're from Australia, so we say petrol in the tank. I've been watching too many American movies. It's slowly poisoning and eroding my mind. But we've got everyone's favourite game mode coming in, and considering both teams have been a little bit indecisive with targets, we could be seeing very, very, very long fights, especially coming in on those second points.
Yeah, definitely. If we don't see an adjustment from these teams and their ability to press the advantage, we may not see the second point fully capped here. I mean, Hanamura is famed for just being able to go on forever. It's definitely one of those places where you can see a 7-minute defense hold out. So unless we see some adaptations and some more decisiveness, I don't know if... I don't know what we'll be seeing out of them. We'll have to find out if they're going to address these or not.
Well, statistics so far in this series have pretty much said that both teams are most likely going to favour towards tanky composition, right? So we're most likely going to be looking for those big graviton surges to really serve as an easy way out for everyone to be cleaned up in a quick fashion. So on this map, of course, Ana was played a bunch even when she was bad on this map. So now that we're seeing a bit of Ana into meta, I imagine you're still going to have that sort of support lineup there as well, and maybe in conjunction with the Mercy or whatever to try and sustain those tanks on the point, which again, that's going to increase the fight time. So it could certainly be quite interesting, but Goats, of course, is going to be the default, I believe, especially for Shiki's Harem.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think this map, Hanamura, is definitely one of the bigger Goats maps as well. It's sort of Hanamura and King's Row and Lijiang Control Center that are sort of the big maps you think of when you think Goats. So I think we can definitely expect to see that out of the attackers. And certainly it does look like they're indicating as much, whereas Raza and the lads on defense again, looking like they might be opting for a very projectile-heavy comp with that Ana, as you mentioned, to probably try and stem the tide of the incoming Goats push they're expecting.
Well, you also have a lot of burst coming in out of the Raza and the lads composition. With that amount of upfront burst damage, your hope is to try and cut through immediately at the start of those fights. Make sure that DJ has a difficult time at trying to reset those shields. So the impact of this defense, once they come through that initial choke, is going to become very crucial for Raza and the lads. Of course, when you have the Reptile, when you have that Dragon Strike up against a tanky composition, you want to force them to a location to make them uncomfortable, herd them like a shepherd. That's going to be the goal coming in up against, the titan of what is Goat, sorry.
Of course, and getting a huge biotic grenade in the start of the fight from that Ana definitely doesn't hurt either.
Yeah.
We do have, here it comes, and there's the speed boost being committed as they bulldoze their way right through. And it looks like so far, early kill onto Hypebeast, that should be all they need. And yes, the kills are definitely coming through very much in the favour of Raza and the lads here. Early kill onto the Moira is going to leave Goats dead in the water. It's really going to come down to how much damage can they do. I think they need to be quickly resetting here. I know they did get the kill early on onto DJ Rufio, but the defenders are going to... Yeah, I think absolutely this is turning around here now. Shiki's Harem managing to bulldoze their way through with the help of the respawn advantage, and they are going to clear off Raza and the lads here. Again, just not the decisive kills coming through after that early advantage needed to take control of the fight.
And Jeffy once again just dancing on the point, providing us a very good distraction. It sort of feels like Jeffy is providing a lot of space for the Goat's composition and Shiki's around, but the Reptile coming out as well, that could provide a little bit of space. You see 2 tanks on point, could that catch anyone?
He's going for it. He detonates on Bacon, but Bacon is not DMX from it and just gets the healing, so not a lot of value out of that. That said, in the meantime, while this is going on, other members of Shiki's Harem, other members of Raza and the lads rather, taking advantage of the hesitation while that Riptide is in place to take advantage and cut off and cut to pieces the members of Shiki's Harem who had extended forwards onto the point while the others backed off in fear of that tire. That said, throughout all this, they still managed to get a tick despite the fight going over in favour of Raza and the lads. So a couple more like that and this will all be over.
And they have plenty of time to really get through to the point. 6 minutes. And it looks like both teams are going to be clashing at that high ground. And look, they're charging and Education coming into the play. Whoa!
Grenade coming through there by Palm Tree. Does get taken down in the end, but the sheer amount of damage done by that at the start of the fight means that the kills have absolutely come through in favour of Raza and the lads here. And it's just going to be... Education still unchecked, however, is just putting in the work. Raza finally takes it down. We will have a res coming through onto Hair Care for Men. And it looks like Shiki's Harem's still willing to commit onto this one, but I think at this stage they're just playing with their own time. And I think potentially feeding a bit too much ult charge to the defenders. They almost come in for a second wave, but now they're going to struggle to get out from this one actually, as Lions putting in a lot of work with that Junkrat. Counter charge coming in there by DJ Rufio, but the punishment is quick and retribution is swift, and eventually we will see Shiki's Harem having to reset here.
Yeah, Shiki's Harem need to be very careful as well, because when you're playing very tanky compositions, one of the things that's going to be the weakness is feeding ult charge, right? So your key things to worry about is knowing how to disengage and engage. Sometimes they've just been flooding around these flats for too long. Here comes the Graviton Surge, just going to force it.
Do have sound barriers coming out, however, to keep the members of Shiki's Harem alive, whereas unfortunately the members of Raza and the lads not so lucky there, as they're not running a defensive ultimate. And so in this sort of ult fight, they really need to make sure they're getting the value through, and that big tire from Lions there may be what they need to stabilize, but this is still a very dangerous fight for them. However, it's not being won decisively by the attackers here, which is what needs to happen, as the respawns will come through very quickly here, because again, this point is so close. Lions is still raining bombs down from above, and Colonel Wong has made it back on the emergency Doomfist, takes out Jiffy, but all the members alive here from Raza and the lads. Big shatter coming through from DJ Rufio, but can they get any kills on the follow-up? Nothing's been killed as of yet. Education does go down, but Elsie committing the Valkyrie there will keep everyone nice and healthy over this point. The attackers are really struggling to make headway on this fight, and it's basically cleanup at this point. And again, they're just losing a lot of time for not a lot of progress there.
Quite unfortunate there for Shiki's Harem, of course, because they did have to invest their ultimates coming into that fight, and you still have some left in the bank on the other side of Raza and the lads on the defense there, so they can probably go in for an early fight with Nano Boost. They still have the Zarya Graviton Surge 20% away, so you could assume that that's going to be built up mid-fight in case the Shadow or the Nano Boost doesn't work out either, so plenty of options still here for the defending team, and the clock is slowly dwindling down.
So we will be having another one coming through shortly, but Colonel Wong has swapped over to the Doomfist in that last fight as an emergency option and has already built up his Seismic Slam. As we do have the attack coming in here from Shiki's Harem, the tick goes through, so they have managed to pick up the second one. We do have ultimates being committed all over the place. Raza committing his shatter to little effect, getting the benefit of the nano boost there, and Taitoku in a lot of trouble as the Reinhardt looks to take him down, but does eventually come through. Colonel Wong taking down Brigida as well means that, again, this fight going very much in favor of Raza and the lads. And they're still getting the ultimate rotation coming through. This fight has been won, and they're going to have 2 devastating ultimates up for the next one as well.
That's an absolutely fantastic result for them right there. Of course, still on the opposite side in the attack, they have the Graviton Surge as well, right? So it's going to be about getting the initiative in these fights, but fortunately enough, for the defensive team, considering the high ground placement as well, it's going to be much easier for Raza and the lads to set this up, right? So let's see where they decide to place this Graviton Surge, probably on the rotation as they're coming out to the high ground here. They still have the Doomfist as well. Colonel Wong's looking for blood, but they're on point.
There it is. Grav being committed, tests up everyone in that team. And there's the tire, huge tire from Lions, taking down 3 and the D-Mech. Raza getting pinned by Rufio, but it's not enough, and Rufio takes his revenge, taking down the enemy Reinhardt, and it's just Amora alone on the point, gradually getting staggered. I don't know why she didn't run for the edge there, but maybe still quicker than jumping off the edge by the time she gets up there. But still, 87%. They do push it up to a new high on that percentage. I think the one thing we can say for the defenders here is they have been a bit slow to rotate to the point, and so there's been a lot of free ult percentage going through in favor of Shiki's Harem here.
Yeah, they need to make sure that those choke points aren't as easily accessible and making sure they get as much damage as possible coming into the point, because I feel like coming into the point, Shiki's Harem have been pretty good. Right now they've gone quite quickly, but can they react to get the kills?
Absolutely, and we do have this one breaking out. We have big shatter being committed from DJ Rufio, but doesn't get much, and the counter shatter is there from Raza. Sound barrier being committed does prevent anyone going from down and manages to sustain them through a huge anti-nade coming through from Palm Tree. So again, this one looks like it may actually, again, they're just not getting the kills fast enough. The kills are slowly coming through, Palm Tree going down, and Lions will be making his way back onto the point shortly. Raza going down now as well, but Bacon gets D-Mech from Colonel Wong. There's still plenty of members from Raza and the lads alive on this point, and the kills just aren't coming through quick enough to prevent the respawn. DJ Rufio taking down Heck FMN, but Raza is brought back by Elsie. Dragonblade being committed to Taitoku. This should help them get the cleanup that they need, but Raza has the nano boost, and he is just absolutely tearing things up with it. Lions gets a huge tire. Rufio getting the shatter onto Colonel Wong will send him off the point. Lions getting picked off as well. This may be it, but again, this is last fight, and a Graviton being committed there at the end just means it's just sitting ducks in the middle of the point. Self-destruct being committed takes out 2 on top of that. This is still anyone's fight as the reinforcements continue to trickle back onto the point, but Raza alive with that Reinhardt hammer just dealing so much damage, does get pressured down eventually, and it does look like all the members of Shiki's Harem alive will eventually cap this one through, but in overtime.
That's certainly a way to do it. A self-destruct, getting 2 for free on point, is an unconventional way of getting that second point, but it did work, so great job there for Bacon, but
Might be unconventional at the SRU player, but at mine it's par for the course.
Look, it worked, and that's all that matters. But Shiki's Harem, I mean, they looked a lot more comfortable once they had the sort of more aggressive style plugging in the Genji there as well, because I felt like with the situations that they had in a sort of more similar mirror comp, it's always going to be a little bit more difficult for the attacking team, considering that the defensive team can really set up in an advantageous way, and the Genji really adds another element to it as well, because you have the supports constantly being contested, which means that the tanks have to try and readjust and try to peel for them as well, right? So having the Genji Dragonblade, even despite not doing that much work in terms of, he's not getting 4 kills in the kill feed, he's providing space and he's initiating a sort of pathway for his other players to gain ground, right? So it was good that they made that adaptation, and it certainly did work out for them in the end.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. If you've got a Genji flittering around your backline, even if he's not getting the kills, he is going to be taking time in their comms away from anything else, as the people who really need to worry about that proceed to really worry about that. And so it looks like we aren't going to be seeing from Raza and the lads a Goats-based push, because Lions is sitting there on the Widow. There may be time to change it. It looks like it'll be it's a Goats push with a Widow. What am I saying? It's a Goats variant, and we will be seeing out of the defenders Taitoku again on the McCree and Education on the Junkrat, so a lot of burst damage available to disrupt this incoming rush as well. And no, it looks like Colonel Wong has gone onto the Pharah, so it's not a Goats push after all.
Yeah, probably a little bit better of a decision there to switch to the Mercy as well, considering you have two carries that really work off a Mercy quite well. And saying that,
It's an early
Raza has
dodge there
decided to
from
go in.
Raza. Absolutely takes down Jiffy, getting a slam into the wall, but does get anti-naded and taken down very quickly as well. But Bacon going down off the back of that means the advantage is absolutely here. Taitoku picks up Country Lion, picks up Hype Beast Hekif, and then picks up Rufio. And Raza getting rezzed here should mean that Raza and Lads have an overwhelming advantage, and they are going to set up on this point. Tail end of the fight going very quickly after a lot of trades back and forth.
Well, Chaos is going to be the name of the game for Raza and the Lads' composition, because if they get an engage early, it gives Leon so much space to work with in the back there, ending up getting quite a good few shots to engage that fight. But of course, you're seeing a similar situation. Shiki's around, they're already on the same page and trying to take that high ground.
Yeah, we see Taitoku going over onto the Widow. We will be seeing some long-range Widow duels. Connell Long still running the Farah in here, which could be in for a rude awakening, and that's just so unfortunate. Lions hooks into almost melee range of Education's Junkrat, which is not a great place to be if you're a Widowmaker, so the attackers will be seen off here quite convincingly. Elsie getting staggered out quite badly, actually.
Oh, that's unfortunate. There we go. Elsie. The Mercy is now dead.
Yeah, that's a very late kill there. It's going to buy them some much-needed time.
Yeah, there's a lot of time to work with, of course. 6 minutes, I believe, is even more than the previous push coming out. So they certainly have a lot of time to work out what they want to achieve for this push. Of course, Leon's going to have quite a fun time. I'm going to be looking at this Widowmaker matchup as well between Leon's and Tioku.
Yeah, Taitoku currently sitting quite comfortably behind DJ Rufio's shield, but looks like Colonel Long's actually gone over onto the Hanzo, so it will be a double sniper attack here as Raza and the Lads make their way in, but DJ Rufio looking like he wants to pick this fight. Taitoku taking down Colonel Long, and that tire, that's going to be nasty. Takes down Raza. That should be all they need for Raza and the Lads to have to back off here.
And at least that's a disengaged call, right? They had to force out the Riptide there. But still, there's still a lot in the bank coming in here for the defensive squad in Shiki's Harem, right? They have huge ultimates. Actually, ultimate economy-wise, it is reasonably similar.
It's starting. The balance is starting to tip over, but still a fair bit of tools to wear through. It's really going to come down to, I suppose, who is able to get value from the ultimates in this next fight to see whether or not there really is an earnest shot at this point. We do have Taitoku looking with the sights up, but DJ Rufio getting knocked off to the high ground by the Lucio there. But Raza is in an awful spot behind the team, in a lot of trouble there. Palm Tree coming to his rescue and may actually manage to get him out there despite him being completely trapped in the back line. And Bacon getting picked up by Raza's charge. This is absolutely turned around there. Raza in a lot of trouble, but the sound barrier comes through in time to save him as well, or his DJ Rufio is coming for him, hungry for blood with that nano boost up, but does actually get taken down, and Raza is still alive here as he continues to just tear people apart one at a time. Taitoku getting a lot of work during the fight, but eventually getting silenced by Lions, rather, and Education is onto the emergency Doomfist as Raza and the Lads have set up on this point. And this may actually be it here, and DJ Rufio taking sniper fire, can't even get onto the point, and that is a cap through, putting Raza and the Lads in a great spot to win this map.
It's the same premise as the first point there as well, right? You see Raza playing ridiculously aggressive. It was amazing that he actually managed to survive. He was discorded, had an anti-heal on him, he was less than half health, but the fact that he took so much space and managed to survive meant that Lions and the Lions in the back line just could do whatever he wanted, and ended up getting a triple kill, I believe, on the last final phase of that second point. And when you have someone who's as relentless as Raza is in the front line, gaining so much sort of traction up against the opposition, you're a DPS player and you're just sort of smiling in the background. It's like, everyone's going for that guy. I can do whatever I want now.
Absolutely, and I'm still blown away that Raza has managed to live through that, and I think he really needs to absolutely give credit to his Lucio there. As Palm Tree comes in deep to try and get him out of that trouble, gets him to a safe spot. Then when Raza gets hit with the anti-nade and he's not able to get healed up, Palm Tree commits the sound barrier just to keep him going. And so go he does. And it's just absolutely amazing to see these tank players getting away with murder.
Well, speaking of tank players, we have a much more different composition coming out from Shiki's Harem. This comp is quite intriguing. I believe the win percentage drastically increases depending on if the Raza and the lads get through the initial choke. The initial choke's going to be where they're most powerful. If they get past that, they're a lot weaker.
Raza's in, the wall not quite placed to stop them from filtering in, but Education's still there. Raza gets the early kill onto Hypebeast. Elsie going down may be what they need, but Jiffy going down as well means that Raza and the lads are still in the driver's seat here, and the kills are all coming through in their favour. Big anti late in the fight by Bacon, but it's probably too little too late, and there's the point flip.
There we go. That was a quick and simple push there. I expected a little bit more. But
I think it was just the Maywall wasn't quite placed right,
yeah.
and there was a little gap that they could still filter through. Means that they just couldn't get what they were wanting from that.
And that's the key, right? The most powerful aspect of that composition is getting that Maywall executed in that first fight is important to sort of snowball the economy in your favor, because your characters have impact value, which means they have cooldowns that are really good when you use them first. So if they do unfortunately misplay something or like miss a hook or a hold or whatever, they can get severely punished for that.
Absolutely, but we do have Raza and the lads picking up a map here, which puts them back into the game, and perhaps puts them in the driver's seat to start their own reverse sweep here as we move on to Dorado next. So,
could be the case.
I mean, as I said, they were prior to this completely undefeated in this group stage, having taken down both Shiki's Harem and all the other teams in this bracket, including one other team that Shiki's Harem did actually lose to. But Shiki's Harem have definitely been really making Raza and the lads work for it. I mean, as I said, like they are definitely up here 2-1, and it's on Raza and the lads to keep up the performance if they want to stop this one from ending, because at any time Shiki's Harem can end this if they pick up a map. So a lot of pressure now on Raza and the lads to keep this one going.
I love that both of these teams are embracing the rivalry, so they've decided to get both of the LA teams as their in-game logos as well. They've got the LA Valiant and the LA Gladiators. They're sort of embracing the fact that we're in the grand finals and in the same league. They feel at home, so it's good to see the players acknowledging and having fun in game. It's always nice to see that.
Absolutely, and just. As we get ready to go into Dorado, I suppose talk us through what we can expect to see here.
So Dorado is a map that really hasn't been in the contenders map pool for a while. So speaking about this first point, I think it is certainly an opportunity for a variety of different compositions to play. Now, historically, before the GOATS composition came into its own, you would have basically dive compositions where the monkey would be on the top of the first point building, and then you'd have like your diva on the opposite, and you'd converge in the spawn and try to get very quick fights and gather a lot of ultimate economy. Now, with the addition of Brigade in the game, well, that could add a big question mark. And do you really want to value those early engages? Because you could be potentially having a shield bash right to your face as you would want to come in to try and get the early contest, right? So she could certainly play a big play to that strategy. Of course, you still have the Orisa Hog combo, which could be quite important coming into the first archway as well. So it's all about prioritizing different sections of the first point. You have pretty much 3 sections where 3 compositions are viable. So
yeah,
it depends on what you're prioritizing, but I think it introduces a variety of options, which can always be fun.
Absolutely. And as much as it may not have been the contenders map pool recently, I think it was in the stage 4 map pool for Overwatch League. So we did see a bit of the pros on this map, and I think the standard defense we started to see them gravitate to was a very far back defense with an Orisa-based composition. But whether or not these teams favor that over a more forward hold remains to be seen. It's certainly not something you see a lot outside of the pros, definitely holding that far back, because certainly in ranked people like to take their fights early. So it's going to be anyone's. I suppose it's no one can really say what we can expect out of it. It looks like we are just waiting on one player before we get this one going. So it's yeah, I mean, this is definitely not really a map where we can expect to see more of the goats, simply because of all of the high ground available. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, that's the point, right? I think one thing that you need to take into consideration, especially when you're on the attack, is how can your team comp transition. So the massive difference between first and second point on this map is that sure, if you have a successful push coming into first and you're running sort of right centric composition and you're coming into second, even if you have like a decisively uh, increased ultimate economy over your enemy team, you're not even guaranteed to win the fight because your positional disadvantage is that large. So if you look at the defensive team and if they decide to switch to a more mobile composition and they take the high ground, they can do a lot of things on their terms and they have the room to work with. So what you often see is the attacking team would either sort of prepare for that and engage in a set swap once they come into second, or they just play dive coming into the first, just make it a lot easier and they don't lose ult charge.
Absolutely. So we're still just waiting on one player, unfortunately, but it should be any moment now that we are able to go into this one. And yeah, it's definitely a lot of things to watch out for in Dorado. Definitely a map I'm personally quite fond of. As far as payload goes, at least it's not Gibraltar, right? But no, definitely a map I've always been quite fond of.
So well, again, sort of
no, go ahead.
Go ahead. To double into the defense as well, both teams haven't really played any Orisa Hog. We saw it on the last and final defense, but that was like a really awkward variation with May and stuff as well. So yeah, both teams have historically so far in this series have leaned more towards the Reinhardt compositions, and with the Orisa Hog, if there is a time to play it, especially with the given map pool that we've seen as well, it is a time to use them on this map as well.
Absolutely. So it looks like we will be just about to head into this one, and so I suppose all the questions about composition will be answered shortly. But for those of us just joining us, we do have Shiki's Harem 2 versus Raza and the Lads as 1, which means we are at match point in this best of 5 series. One more win from Shiki's Harem will be all they need to secure this one. And looks like we will continue to have Raza and the Lads in the blue. So Shiki's Harem opting to attack first here, I believe. This is an interesting decision on their part.
Certainly is. I think one thing that I'm intrigued for into this series as well, especially after hearing some murmurings and a lot of scrim results, is that the Sombra has been played a bit more often as well. Haven't seen it so far in this series, but of course when teams are gravitating to more tanky compositions, the EMP can provide a lot of utility because of the amount of time those tank cooldowns require to come back online. So she can certainly make these fights a lot more dragged out, and you can find the gaps and the chinks in the armor there. So no team electing to go for that so far, but we have something quite fun potentially. Maybe Education goes for the Bastion, but probably not.
I mean, it's certainly not the best map for a pirate ship-based attack, just because there is an awful lot of high ground you can take to get around the shields to get on top there, and it looks... But that said, it's still, again, because it's not a great map for it, who's going to expect it? And it looks like they are going to be going for it as they come out the gate here.
Oh. Revolutionized everything. They've got triple support and of course the Zarya shield to facilitate that Bastion as well, so you can bet your life that every single little bit of resource is going to be dumped onto Education.
Yeah, they do get the early scouting from Lions set up there on the Widowmaker, so an early rotation coming out as well from Raza and the Lads as they sit there and probably try and work out what tools they've got to deal with this. Now it looks like Colonel Wong is going to be coming in behind. They're just going to hard engage on that with the Reinhardt as they come in swinging. But the Bastion is just firing away unopposed here. Takes down Palm Tree. Jiffy taking out Colonel Wong, and Education picking up Raza as well means this cut will continue to roll through point A. It's going to be very hard for Raza and the Lads to mount a defense here. They just don't have the tools they need.
Let's see how much Shiki's Harem can get away with this as well, because once Colonel Wong gets that Riptire, that's when the first question is sort of posed, right? So if Colonel Wong can get that ultimate up quickly, then you can force the sort of stationary composition to scatter, which is when they're most ineffective.
Absolutely, and Colonel Wong just setting up on the high ground here on second, as we'd expect. It's just going to be raining down grenades. It's going to be very difficult to keep this Bastion sheltered from the different angles that Colonel Wong is going to get as the cart progresses through. And at this stage, they don't have anyone who can go up there and discourage him either, so it's just going to be how long can they get away with this. The Widowmaker coming up to take another angle as well, and already Education is scattered off the cart, and Raza coming forwards, getting ready to take a fight. And it looks like Jiffy getting taken down, but Education does pick up Colonel Wong, and the res is there on Jiffy as well. So finally the Bastion of Education goes down, but the damage has been done to an extent. But Lions now picking up both supports means that Raza and the lads will win this fight out. Shiki's Harem having to go back to spawn. And the question will be, does Education swap off now, or does he try and get value from that configuration tank? And no, he has rightfully thrown away that ultimate, because it's not going to be what they need to break this, and they're bringing out the Genji.
Yeah.
But, I think, did they just... Oh, okay, no, they're swapping off the Ana as well. That's what that was.
No one can
I was going to say, I don't think Nano boosting the Mercy is probably the decision here, but...
We do have some wholesale changes coming through, and we do have, dive tanks coming out from Shiki's Harem. Riptide being committed does get a kill onto Taitoku, but that's probably just going to get rezzed up here. Actually, where did the body go down? Okay, yeah, now here comes Hype Beast now to pick it up, so... Oh no, the respawn comes through before the Mercy can get there. It's buying a bit of time, but the card is still moving, so not really buying a lot of time at all, in reality. And it looks like DJ Rufio will be coming through. Big shadow from Raza there, but again, the Zen Bacon pulling out the Transcendence. Does get a res onto Education under cover of Trance, but the kills are actually coming through in favor of Raza and the lads here, even with the Resurrection coming through. They've got the man advantage, and even though they're running this Reinhardt on the defense, it's just, Raza is just committing on this payload and turning the fight into a brawl around the payload, whether or not Shiki's Harem want that to be what they're taking. And of course, in this time, Lions is just able to sit here in the backline, occasionally being forced away from the fight by DJ Rufio, but the tanks of Shiki's Harem here having to choose between contesting the tanks and going after the Widow, and it seems like no matter what choice they pick, they're not winning it.
Well, they also have Jiffy out of mech for this fight as well, so that's going to make the engage come out much more longer away. So one thing as well, I mean, it's quite comedic, but Raza and the lads, it's rightfully the name of the team, because it feels like Raza always gets pocketed coming into the payload. It rightfully should be called Raza and the lads. He's so manly. Look at him right now, contesting the payload. Big ocean, I told you. This
and
man's
DJ
going
Rufio just gets slammed into the payload. He's out of the fight, and it doesn't matter that an early kill has actually gone through against them. Education pulling out the blade though, maybe a chance to bring this one back, and a res onto DJ Rufio means that they've got the numbers on this one, and they're committing ultimates here. They want this to be the fight. Hair Care for Men getting taken out by the self-destruct. The card is underway, and it's looking like they will get this one going, but Raza is still alive and providing a lot of pressure on Rufio, who needs to jump away. But that said, Lions getting taken out and Bacon taking out Palm Tree as well means that it is going to be a desperate last defense here at B, with the numbers very much against him. But look at that, Raza has already built another shatter and commits it. Gets a big shatter. Unfortunately, the Transcendence prevents any follow-up there. Raza does get charged very deep into the backline and get punished for it, so this one will get across the line here, but what an incredible performance.
Certainly is so far, and I think with the ultimate economy coming in for the Zarya, having that Graviton Surge available, this is where you really want to use it. Coming into this very first choke, you don't want to give the dive composition much space, because you're going to be pressed of this awkward position right now. So you can see the tanks are picking where they want to engage, and the grav gets a lot more difficult to use right now.
Yeah, that said, they also, with the grav, need to worry about Jiffy just eating it, so it's it's difficult to just commit a grab when you want it. Colonel Wong does take down Education with the tire, and that kill is actually quite deep, so it's going to be difficult for Hypebeast to get the res on that one. DJ Rufio picking up Raza though, who's swapped over onto the Winston, means that absolutely the fight is still looking in favour of Shiki's Harem there. Self-destruct over the top creates a lot of space, but doesn't accomplish much else. Raza does actually get rezzed. Haircare for Men taking out Bacon and Lions taking out Eyepiece mean that Shiki's Harem lost their supports, and this one is just a retreat at this stage. That said, Rufio is on the cart, and no one seems to be in position except Elsie to contest it, so he's actually getting a couple of things. He's committing the Primal Rage here, which I think is probably a mistake. He's just going to end up farming a lot of ult charge over, Jiffy getting taken out before they get back into mech, and that will be the reset there.
They do have the Dragon Blade available for this next fight as well. And the Sombra, there we go. I did dabble on about it earlier on, and we are finally getting the Sombra. That's Education. We'll be looking to get some value on that Dragon Blade for this fight, especially knowing that the supports are probably playing towards that backside of point. Look for a deep dive for the tanks.
Taitoku coming in, getting a hack on Palm Tree coming into this engagement, really setting up the space for this Blade without... Well, unfortunately the Blade, I think if that was the plan, didn't come through quite fast enough, and Anna's abilities coming back online to get a big anti-grenade onto the Genji, and sadly not a lot happening from that one, as once again another successful defense from Raza and the lads.
Unfortunately, it just wasn't the correct engage timing there. When you Dragon Blade like that, you either want sort of a facilitating ability like a bubble or defense matrix on you, or a support ultimate, I guess, if you want to dive that far, but no tank was within line of sight to assist Education there, and the Junkrat used the concussive blast to just wipe him out instantly. Well played.
And now we do have 20 seconds left, which means we're down to last fight territory, and a late stagger onto Taitoku means that it's going to be very difficult for Shiki's Harem to pull this one through. DJ Rufio coming back on the Reinhardt here means he wants to turn this into a brawl, but there's the Graviton being committed. And yeah, the Transcendence comes through, but a little too late, and DJ Rufio getting taken down by Colonel Wong's tire as well means that this is going to be a very uphill battle for them. Education does pick up Colonel Wong, and Taitoku back in, picks up Lions as well, but Raza picks up Bacon, and Colonel Wong is revived by Elsie. Education does pick up Raza again, so the Doomfist really putting in the work, and Jiffy committing the self-destruct over the top, picks up Colonel Wong, but unfortunately no one is on the payload, and as a result, that will be a successful defense right before the end of 3.
It was always going to be a difficult one to sort of regather in that fight anyway, I feel, but it was unfortunate that they weren't contesting the payload at the end, but maybe if they swapped the composition and were all on the same page earlier, they could have achieved what they wanted to on that third point. I feel like the Sombra was a pretty good pick there, and if you have the sort of Dragon Blade and EMP combo, you're guaranteeing that it's going to be more difficult for the defensive team to retaliate and try to deal with what you're trying to give them, you know? And so let's see how the attacking team works it out. And of course, I probably won't be seeing another fancy Bastion strategy. So either way, I still will be disappointed. But we've seen it all tonight, mate. We've seen it all.
Absolutely. So it is going to be on Raza and the lads to try and get what is almost a full cap of this map to keep themselves in the game here. And it looks like they will be coming out swinging with a double sniper composition. Interesting, like double sniper with the brawl tanks though is definitely an interesting choice.
Yeah, it is an interesting choice. I guess the one fault in this composition as well is that you really want your Mercy to be facilitating a DPS, but at the same time, if you only have a Lucio healing the tanks, that means the engages have to be really crisp, or you have to rely on the snipers attacking an enemy DPS, so the health pool doesn't disintegrate as quickly, because you only realistically have the Mercy to heal, but at the same time, she wants to pocket a DPS, so it's a conflict of interest.
Absolutely, and it looks like we do have some cheeky scouting early from Shiki's Harem here, and a very interesting Junkrat trap on top of the payload, which should stick out a bit like a sore thumb, but almost picks up Raza regardless. And we do have the early exchanges here. That trap is just sitting there unnoticed after all.
I'm waiting for it. This will be the mid.
Yeah. It looks like DJ Rufio's shield is taking a pounding there, which is the risk. You definitely don't want to lose that against double sniper. And we do have perhaps the first fight here on this archway. And it looks like we have had a long flank from Lions, who's actually in position behind them. That's going to be very hard to deal with on the part of Shiki's Harem if he can get a few key shots in.
Looks like they're trying to wrap around as well. Leon's just trying to contest the right side, but Genji doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, Taitoku just absolutely telling Lions he needs to get out of there. But that said, Lions gets the angle nonetheless. DJ Rufio down. Makes his way all the way around to the front, and this one is now open. We do have Raza going in quite deep, but a big anti-grenade really slows that push. But the follow-through from Haircare for Men is still coming, and there will be the res as well. All members of Raza and the lads pushing their way through. That'll be an easy 0.8 cap.
And they are in the situation where they pretty much have all the ults in the bank, and the defensive team still has a sort of immobile composition. So you can expect there's going to be a lot of Qs pressed come this next fight. Raza and the lads with that Graviton Surge, they want to take the initiative here.
Absolutely, and Lions has gone quite deep, taking an aggressive high ground position, but Education is committing the tire early and is looking to hunt down that Widow. Picks up Colonel Wong instead, but and then picks up Lions for good measure, so that will be the reset from Raza and the lads.
And that's a fantastic job there from Education as well, because it gives the space for Jiffy to trying to gain the ultimate charge on Haircare for Men. Now, there's still about 25 discrepancy there in the ultimate economy, but every little pick adds problem for the attacking team. So if he can keep on getting picks at the start of the fight, it's going to be so much more difficult.
But there goes Jiffy now. Raza taking them down with a Fire Strike. Commits the Shatter. Doesn't quite get that one through and charges deep into the backline. But the kills are still coming through in favor of Raza and the lads as this fight devolves. And it looks like we will be seeing a fairly quick reset. Now, Hypebeast is coming forwards, not looking, I suppose, figuring that probably not going to be able to get away. And Haircare for Men is moving up to control space. Lions takes out Education with the... Rather, Lions gets taken out by Education by the Martyr Bombs, but Lions quickly gets rezzed. That's definitely an interesting way for a Widowmaker to die. We do have Taitoku onto the Diva now, and Education coming back on the Wrecking Ball as they take this fight over the card. There's the Graviton being committed, but Bacon is quick with the Transcendence. Dragons are through, but they cannot be damage boosted anymore, so that trans is more than enough. Taitoku gets taken out of mech away from it, but Raza goes down as he commits the Earth Shatter. That one's gonna hurt. DJ Rufio looks like he's in control of this payload and in control of this fight, but Raza has been rezzed. So that's a very angry Reinhardt quite deep in the backline of Shiki's Harem here. That said, the cart is not going anywhere at this stage, and it's really... like, Raza is just in Narnia at the moment. Everyone is so spread out in this fight. Eventually, DJ Rufio finally going down on the payload, and perhaps we will be seeing a reset here, but... Again, it's on Raza and the lads to get this one moving, and they are finally getting the cart moving, but so much time being bought there by Shiki's Harem coming into his second point cap, rather.
I mean, either way, mate, I think I've gone back in time. This composition was played pretty much every single game on one of the last patches. Having the Hanzo combo is so crucial to securing the kills of the Graviton Surge, but as you said, the changes in play, and it makes the composition function so much more differently. You can't rely on the Dragon Strike wipe anymore.
Absolutely, and it looks like, despite the early kill onto DJ Rufio, it looks like Raza and the lads not pushing forwards to take the space and take the man advantage means that there is time for DJ Rufio to make it back, and we will be having a defensive fight here, still fairly early. Big Earth Shatter coming through from DJ Rufio, and Raza is in a lot of trouble, but he picked up Taitoku with a charge that looked like it was just to try and escape. So really great dividends there, and it will actually be Raza and the lads being repulsed here. Despite a late kill onto Colonel Wong, just so much damage being put through on all the members that they need to back off and regroup. Education takes down Lions now on the flank, and this is, absolutely going to be a bit of a pause here while they wait for their Widow to respawn.
Bacon's Transcendence is going to be a key trying to win this next fight right now. Haircare for Men does have that Graviton Surge available, and they don't really have any combo components to insta-kill anymore. Dragon Strike won't prove to be the most useful thing in the world in attempting to insta-kill everyone, so Bacon has to step up right now.
There's a shatter coming out from Raza. Oh, and they've overlapped their support ultimates. That is not what they wanted to do there. They will see the fight win off the back of it, but they have just used... Ooh, that's going to hurt them in the next fight.
Well, if this basically means if Raza and the lads get the engage on this fight, this could secure them the point pretty much. So I guess if you have the engage first for Shiki's Harem, then they have the opportunity to sort of bounce the ultimate economy back in their favor, perhaps. But he's still going to have to deal with that grab, and you're relying on Bacon to accumulate it in one fight.
Absolutely, I think it's going to be a lot of pressure on Taitoku to get the big grab first. And there it comes, and it is big. It's got the Mercy in it, it's got the Zaya. Mercy gets slammed into a wall. This is what they needed, and that's what they've done here. The fight is devolving through, but DJ Rufio putting in so much work with that big German hammer. Colonel Wong does eventually punish him, but it's only a matter of time, and it really should be that DJ Rufio makes it back before we can have another fight, because the defenders can just give space if they need to buy the time.
Certainly, and I think Shiki's Harem are really putting in the proactive state here. They're making sure they want to take all of these fights on their terms, but how often can they attempt to do that? Of course, Haircare for Men still has that Graviton Surge. Raza has that Earth Shatter. There's so many options for the attacking squad.
But there it is again. DJ Rufio commits it in early. The grab is finally committed, but it only picks up Taitoku. The Dragon's being committed through it. Kills are coming through, however, as Raza and the lads are taking control of this fight. They will get this cart moving, which is good because they absolutely cannot afford to be stalled out any longer here if they want to finish this map. Late kill onto DJ Rufio should give them control of this final cap area, and it's going to come down to one last fight here. With 40 seconds on the clock, the attackers might get another crack of it if they manage to be repulsed, but there's a lot of pressure here from both teams. This could be the fight that decides the game. And the card is getting dangerously close here with 1 meter remaining to get it across the line. We do have some kills coming through at last, and it does actually look like Shiki's Harem are taking the advantage in this fight. Sound barrier being committed by Palm Tree, but perhaps too little too late. That said, Colonel Wong taking down Education is a great turnaround, and Raza getting rezzed here gives them the beef that they need to take control of this brawl. Bacon gets the Transcendence up and commits it here. This is the opportunity for Shiki's Harem, and there's the Graviton. Oh, this is awful for them. They are stuck off the payload. Big counter shatter, but the kills are still coming through. Raza and the lads are actually despite that big shatter, in a lot of trouble due to a really good heads-up shatter by Rufio, and they're going to get this one. They've managed to stave it off, and that will be Shiki's Harem taking control there, taking the point, and putting it over to 3-1 victory.
That was the absolute Cinderella story there for Shiki's Harem. I mean, they did a fantastic job of just initiating constantly first on that third point, and they got the ultimates at the absolute right time, 1.4 meters away from that payload, just secured onto that yellow rectangle, and they got the Transcendence, and in the midst of it, they ended up accumulating the Graviton Surge, and they just had the correct timings, and they were fortunate enough to take advantage because they were the ones initiating on their terms. Great initiative by them.
Absolutely, and just very well played by both teams here, and it was good to see that by the end of the match, teams are getting more decisive. It was great to see Shiki's Harem getting more decisive at the end, picking the fights and following through on them, and getting those decisive fight wins that they needed.
Certainly, and I think either way, this is a series that certainly delivered. It is a grand final, 3-1. It was a little bit closer than I think the scoreline indicates, because there were fights that went for so long, because both teams were just brawling out like warriors in the middle of a battlefield. It was just fantastic to watch.
Absolutely agreed, and I hope all of you out there watching are again in agreement with how great a game this one was. So definitely both teams deserve to come away from this one feeling good about their performance.
Certainly. I think I wonder if the other stream is done as well. If the other lads are still casting. Oh no, their match was shorter. So if you're watching us, well, you high rolled. We were the better match anyway. So it was a closer series.
So with that is the grand finals of Season 4 of our AAOL. We will be likely taking a quick break, but we'll be back fairly soon with Season 5, I'm sure. And I think until then, I've been Pyronius. This is Racket.
Thank you very much. We greatly appreciate you.